In the heart of Sicily, where rolling hills hide ancient secrets and whispers of loyalty and blood run deep, one man would rise to become the most feared figure in Italy's criminal underworld. His name was Salvatore Riina. To his enemies, he was Il Capo dei Capi, the boss of bosses. But to the people of Sicily, he was simply La Bestia, the beast. Salvatore Riina was born in Corleone, a small Sicilian town that would later give its name to fiction's most famous mafia family. But unlike the Hollywood legends, Riina's story was not glamorous, it was brutal. Born in 1930, Riina grew up poor. His father, a farmer, was killed when a World War II bomb he was dismantling for scrap metal detonated. At just 13, Riina suddenly became the head of his household. In a place where survival meant power, young Toto learned early on that fear commands respect. By his late teens, Riina had joined the local mafia, climbing the ranks under Luciano Leggio, a ruthless boss who saw immense potential in the quiet but violent young man. Riina was short in stature, barely 5'2", but his temper was volcanic. When Leggio needed someone eliminated, Riina never hesitated. He quickly earned a reputation as one of the most efficient killers in the entire Sicilian mafia. In the 1960s, after Leggio was arrested, Riina seized control of the Corleone clan. This marked the beginning of what would be known as the Corleonese takeover. One by one, rival bosses started to fall. Some vanished without a trace, their bodies dissolved in acid or buried in the countryside. Others were found in the streets, riddled with bullets. Riina's rise was a masterclass in betrayal, silence, and bloodshed. He believed in total domination, not compromise. Under his leadership, the mafia transformed from a loose brotherhood into a full-blown terror organization. Riina wasn't just another boss. He centralized power in a way no one had before. He essentially made the mafia operate like a state, with its own laws, its own justice, and its own army. By the early 1980s, Riina's control was absolute. But with immense power came recklessness. In 1986, a historic trial, the Maxi trial, began in Palermo. It was the largest anti-mafia prosecution in history, led by two incredibly brave magistrates, Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. The Italian state was finally striking back. Falcone and Borsellino knew the risks. They lived under constant protection, always moving, always watched. But their courage exposed the mafia's deepest networks, leading to the conviction of hundreds, including Riina himself, in absentia. Riina was furious. He had spent years hiding, invisible and untouchable, all while orchestrating murders across Italy. The Maxi trial was a public insult he simply could not forgive. In 1992, Riina declared all-out war on the Italian state. That May, a massive explosion ripped through a highway outside Palermo, the Capaci bombing. Judge Giovanni Falcone, his wife, and 3 bodyguards were killed instantly. Just 2 months later, another bomb tore through a Palermo street, Via D'Amelio. Judge Paolo Borsellino and his 5 police escorts were obliterated. Riina believed these horrifying attacks would paralyze the government. Instead, they ignited a fire of national outrage. For the first time, millions of Italians took to the streets shouting, "Basta! Enough!" But even as the world turned against him, Riina remained confident, almost arrogant in his belief of invincibility. After all, he had evaded capture for 24 years. Then, on January 15th, 1993, the unthinkable happened. Italian police, acting on an informant's tip, surrounded a quiet Palermo neighborhood. There, in a modest apartment, they arrested Salvatore Toto Riina. He went peacefully, even politely, almost as if he was amused that someone had finally caught him. He had been hiding in plain sight the whole time, living under false names, surrounded by his family. His capture marked the beginning of the end for the old mafia. Even behind bars, Riina's influence didn't completely die. From his high-security prison cell, he continued to issue orders, passing coded messages through visitors and lawyers. He never repented, never cooperated with authorities, and never showed a shred of remorse for his actions. He once proudly declared in court, "I am Toto Riina, and I am proud of it." While the Mafia's power would eventually weaken, the wounds he left behind still scar Italy to this day. More than 500 murders are attributed directly or indirectly to his reign of terror. When he died in 2017, still imprisoned, the Catholic Church refused him a public funeral. There were no tears in Palermo, only the quiet relief of a country that had finally outlived its most ruthless son. Toto Riina's story is a chilling reminder of how fear can shape nations and how silence can protect evil. But it's also a story of incredible courage, of judges, police officers, and ordinary citizens who dared to defy a man who thought himself untouchable. From the streets of Corleone to the halls of justice, the shadow of La Bestia still lingers, but so does the light of those who stood against him. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. We'll see you in the next video.